Hey, what's happening, everybody? It's me, Robert Phoenix, and we are back again for another edition of the Astro Weather. That's right, the Astro Weather. This is where we get together and we look at the aspects of the day and try to make sense of it all and give you all some kind of understanding whether or not you need an umbrella or not. Well, not really. It's not that kind of weather, but in some ways, maybe you might need a Astro umbrella. All right. I hope everybody's having a great day, night, evening, wherever you're dwelling, whatever your situation is. I hope it's being, at the very least, rewarding. Sometimes things don't always go the way we want them to, but if we keep our head on our shoulders, we're able to learn from our experience. And every day is a lesson in life and being here in 3D and being able to understand the nature of the divine, of God, of the sacred in the third dimension, which is what we're here to do. We are the stewards of that consciousness and the ability to do that in this realm. So one of the things it's always good to do here is hit the like, subscribe, that sort of thing, hit that bell, especially if you like the content. You can tell other people about it, and we can all have a party here. We have a morning PJ party with the Astro Weather. All right, let's do a quick little roll call, and we'll jump into the weather today. There's my guy, DJ MC. What's happening, brother? Checking in at 12:17 a.m., but he's still here in his own form, different form, but own form. Barbara Boots, listen to this. Good morning from Santiago, leaving the hotel in a couple of hours to fly to Rapa Nui, also known as Easter Island. Remains to be seen what kind of connectivity I have there. Well, that all depends on how you define connectivity. I'm sure your connectivity to the spheres will be heightened in many regards, but your connectivity to the internet, well, that remains to be seen. I'm sure there's a hotel there or two that gets Starlink. All right, we got Sue Leonard in Vedic astrology. They're calling this a solar eclipse in Pisces. Yes, that's true. That is true. And it's not a solar eclipse in Pisces. It is a solar eclipse, theoretically, in Aries, part of the last eclipse cycle. But since we are in the West, I prefer to use Western astrology. I'm not ready to give up astrology yet. I gave up the hotels in America, right? The Patels run the hotels. But I'm not ready to give up Western astrology to Vedic astrology because I am not from India. I'm not from India. And it's okay if you want to use it. I'm not being astrologists. I don't practice astrologism like sexism or racism, but I'm from the West. And I practice Western, Placidus, tropical astrology. All right. KK, California Contrarian. What's happening? Scott Jerzik, thanks for the birthday song. You bet, Scott. I was really, what I was trying to come up with? I was trying to come up with some, like kind of a knights in armor sort of thing. I was really looking for that because I thought that suited you, but I couldn't find it. But I'm glad it worked out, and I hope you had a great birthday. You and Mrs. Jerzik as well. Janice Phillips is here. Oh, she got brand new baby goats. Juno had a little girl, Luna had a boy, and named Marvin Minerva. Oh, congratulations. I'm sure you're a proud grandmammy. Let's see. Who else do we have here? B Harmony 0621 official. What's happening, B Harmony? Jackie Delorio. Time. We've got some thunderstorms happening up there in Idaho. Idaho, you to pimp. It's an old joke. Let's see who else we have here. Julie Sunshine 333 from Cold, Michigan. It's been cuddling in a blanket. But you got some kitties around you too. Misbehaving too. Queen Lisa joining us. Taking him from Florida. My Endless Road. The Bisou. Europe incoming. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Holland. Correct me if I'm wrong, Debisu or Debisu. I'd like to call you Debisu. Mary Grether's here. Hi, Mary. Glenn Spank. Devin Dewar checking in from San Antonio. That's our angelic guide right there. Go check out her channel, Devin Dewar, over on YouTube. Does some nice stuff over there. Good interviews, too. I do think I brought your interview queue down, though. The ratings weren't so good when you interviewed me. But that's okay. It's all right. Everybody else on your channel's been blowing up. PMSO Janine is here. Kelly B, artist here from Florida, where there are communities of happy folks. Good. It's good to be around happy folks. Melissa Stanton, she's feeling more energetic than the last few days. Yeah, right? That was not fun. Sunday, I was still in recovery on Monday, too. Healing Heart Rosie's here. Josie's Jazzy Jump. My guys, we got Steve, Thor at the Door, Ryan, the Introspective Woodworker. Yes, sign up for locals. It's free. If you want to support the show, you can do that there as well. Diane Evans is here. Miss Nikki's here. Laura E. Looks like we got some snow, some late snow falling around the country here. There's Mrs. Jerzik. Ceciliana Aphrodite. Greetings. Tom Jordan in the house. Lynette Jardine. Mad Maxine. Yes, Ryan. Don't forget to like, subscribe, notification bell, and share. Yes, please do that. My goal is to get to 20,000 subscribers on YouTube. We can do it. I know we can do it. Yes. Let's see what else we have here. Lena Winkler, what's happening? Maya Rose from Mexico. Hi, Maya. Carol Moore, quiet on the East Coast. That's either a good sign or perhaps a sign that maybe it won't be so quiet. There's the lovely Claire. Hello, Claire. For astrology readings, that's right. You can sign up right there. That's true. The new website is being tooled and retooled. 15 minutes of flame. That's right. There we go. Thank you, Ryan. We got a good show coming up today. We're going to be talking about Curtis Yarvin. If you don't know who Curtis Yarvin is, you don't want to miss the show. It's going to be very instructive. Night of Cups with us. Scrubby's in the house. There she is, changing, healing Austin, one tooth at a time. The lovely and talented one, Dr. Joan S. in the house. Let's see what else we have here. Beth. Hi, Beth. Would it fit our hemisphere? Yes, Beth. It fits your hemisphere. We just changed the coordinates just a little bit. Bingo, we're for the 11th house on the Vedic. Well, it fits pretty good. I think we should stick with the vibes we were gifted at birth. I was born. Yeah, that's what I feel, right? The thing about Vedic astrology is that it always felt very fatalistic to me. Like if you were born under a bad star, you were kind of fucked, right? And I don't know, man. It feels a little too much like the caste system. Like, you're born in a caste in India, you're fucked, right? It's kind of like Vedic astrology. You got some bad aspects, you're fucked. You're just fucked. Well, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry you have this, but I cannot do anything. Anyway, let's see who else we have here. Moira in NYC, she's with us. Mr. Gray No More. Stephanie Hunter. Robin Dan, Hot Dan, good morning. She's checking in from New York City. Beth, let's not turn the tropics upside down with Vedic. There we go. Let's see who else. Oh, that's what you're referring to, Beth. I see. I'm a double stellium in Aries, so this has been a very interesting, no doubt. Queen Lisa, the party's just getting started in your chart. Let's see. Julianne Ross. Hi, Julianne. Lisa Ann White. She's with us. Lynn Stoltz. Hi, Lynn. Been a while. Good to see you. Peas and butter. Enjoyed the spring weather in Northern California. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I got some reports from the weather in Northern NoCal. Jay Schaeffler coming in. Jay Schaeffler coming in from Tucson. What's happening, Jay? Good to see you. Sorry I couldn't get your call the other day. I was doing something else. I think we're up to speed here. All right, let's get into the weather. Let's go. That's what I love about Claire. Right there, I'll put this up there. Yes, I don't prescribe to that idea. I can always see the light and shadow in any place. Well, there you go. That's true. There's never a party in my chart. Too much Saturn. Well, you could have a party. You're just not going to break out the booze. That's a teetotaler party. That's a clean and sober party. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Susan's here. NorCal is the weirdest, most temperamental weather I've ever experienced. I used to live there. Back in the day before they started manipulating the weather, there were clear seasons in Northern California. And one of my favorite times in Northern California was that kind of November to January period where we get rainy and kind of cold and windy. I loved it. Sometimes we get these really big windy rainstorms. And if you lived in an area with a lot of trees, the trees would be blowing and it was really dramatic. I love that stuff. Don't get that here in Texas. What we get in Texas is here comes the hail. Run for cover. Worry about your car. All right, let's get into the weather, shall we? Let's get into the weather, shall we? We shall. We shall get into the weather. I got to come back here because guess what? It never displays it. Not in the first go, which is, again, really weird. It's very weird. This new little glitch. This new little glitch with StreamYard. I think that should be good. Let me just check here, make sure we got it. Yep, there it is. All right, zoom in. Did you guys pay attention yesterday to the road conditions? I did. I actually listened to my own astrology from yesterday. And I was driving somewhere and I was being very aware. And these two people, like in Texas, we have these like center lanes that allow you to kind of merge, turn, accelerate, and move into the. I didn't really experience that very much in California, by the way, but it's pretty big in Texas. So we have this junction highway here. It's a 2-lane highway in both directions, runs through the center of Kerrville. So I'm headed into town. I'm in the far left lane, not the far right lane, which is closest to the sidewalk, but the far left lane closest to the center lane. And I'm driving, and all of a sudden these two cars are coming from they're turning, right? They come from the other side of the street, and they're turning into the center lane. But the way that they did it was really weird. They both, like, they're probably together. And by the way, have you ever noticed when people are driving together and they're trying to follow each other? Those are prime accident, like, formations, because they're so focused on staying together that weird shit happens. Like they're just looking at the person behind them, make sure that they're not looking around them. I don't know what the statistics are with accidents, but it seems to me like there would be a fairly high percentage of accidents that do occur when two cars are kind of traveling together and trying to stay together. Because if one person makes a bad move, like if the lead car makes a bad move, then the other car will follow suit and will generally amplify the bad move if they're trying to like stay attached to that car. And that's what happened yesterday. So this one car comes out right from the other side of the highway, is going to turn left and go in my direction, but they're in that merge lane. But the way that they did it was really weird. It's like they got out into the merge lane and very quickly had their nose into my lane, with the other car just right behind them, almost rammed up on their rear end. And I'm like, whoa, what's going on here? I saw it was like chaos. Here comes chaos. Right. So I backed off a little bit and I, looked to my right, kind of went around them. And I said, man, I got to be careful. Oh, yeah. Head on a swivel. That's what today was about. So I could see it. I could kind of see it coming. Anyway, We have Venus at 0 Aries today. So it's by this time tomorrow, we're having a discussion about Venus retrograde at 29 and conjunct Neptune. Well, it's already there, but they're in different signs. They are in different signs. And this, to me, represents the cooling of relationships and agreements. This is a cooling off period, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. If you've been in conflict with somebody, by the way, I cannot tell you how many people that I have as clients whose parents have passed away and the siblings are in some form of litigation. Like it's way more rare to hear, oh yeah, we settled everything fine, everybody's happy and everybody got what they needed. Like that is so rare. It's like 90% of the time when we talk about this, like, oh, like what's going on with your third house? Oh yeah, there's this like, I'm in this weird thing with my sister, and she's trying to work me over, and she's got a lawyer, and blah blah blah. Like it's amazing how often this happens. Well, if you're one of those people, this Venus retrograde going from Aries to Pisces can be both positive and negative. I'll give you the positive side. If you've been in a hot negotiation, when I say hot negotiation, we're talking about litigation, things like that. Venus and Aries, somebody's trying to get their way, their will, right? And when it goes into Pisces, it is like a cooling off period. And I don't think it's necessarily bad. Now, the challenge when we get into Venus and Pisces, especially at this 29th degree, is that there's also the potential of just wildly, patently false accusations. All of a sudden, people get very uptight and they start taking things personally. Just wait a little bit. Once Venus gets to like 28, 27, that cooling off period gets better. But, as we approach this eclipse coming up, which is going to be, yes, it'll be in tropical Aries, not sidereal Aries, not Vedic Aries, but tropical Aries. That has its own, we'll talk about that more tomorrow. I'll do kind of a precursor to the eclipse tomorrow, since we won't have the Astro Weather on Friday. But this Venus retrograde is going to be very, very interesting, especially when it hits that 29th degree. There's also a potential here with this Venus retrograde to resurrect relationships that have been completely dormant. And it may not necessarily be a bad thing. I'm wondering just if we're going to see, this is kind of an open-ended question. Okay. Every now and then you hear about this. You hear about somebody who goes to the corner and they're not dead. Like you hear one of these stories about like once or twice a year, maybe once a year. It's like they think the person is dead, but they're not. This is like this Venus retrograde into Neptune at 29. It's almost like the reanimation of corpses. So that also relates to relationships that you thought were dead and dormant. This Venus retrograde can be very interesting in that degree. It's almost like, again, it's like rising from the dead. When you look at the Aeon card, to me, the Aeon card is very much like the 29th degree of Pisces. The Aeon, if you look at that, it's the 20th card in the deck. It's about a new time. Okay. In 2020, we had the Aeon because of the 20, and we also had the 22, which is the Fool. What did you get fooled about in 2020? Most of you watching this, in fact, I would bet just about everybody watching this did not get fooled in 2020. However, many people around you did get fooled. Let's stay with that theme for a minute here. This is also back right here, Venus-Neptune conjunction, 29 degrees. I mentioned the number of people who have these wills going on, right, with their parents, mother, father. And then there's this litigation. Every time it comes up with a client, like, it's not good. I'll tell you what else comes up with clients. The amount of people in their lives that got vaccinated, huge. It's like 8-2. And to me, this is the Venus-Neptune conjunction at 29 degrees. And we're dealing with like pharma, big pharma, the medical industry. Yeah, man. We're turning back the clock, and we're looking at what happened in 2020. It's because Neptune's at the 29th degree. You know, it's sort of this interesting, like, because Aries is like the new time. It's like the new dawn. And the Aeon is the announcement that it's coming. And one of the features of the Aeon is you can actually see people being like animated out of their coffins. It's like raising the dead. And it's sort of like the story of Revelation, right? Or the end times, where the dead are raised, and everybody is summarily judged. You either go north or south, right? Then that's sort of part of the Aeon. But to me, that 29th degree of Pisces is really the Aeon. It's like sort of the end of a period of time, and there's this new thing coming, which of course is Aries, and it's the sort of the dawn of a new day. Now, does it fit in with the World card? A little bit, right? The World card is the 21st card in the major arcana. You add 2 + 1, you get 3, right? We enter into Aries in the 3rd month of the year. Make sense? And usually it's on the 21st day, right? It's usually on the 21st day. So that's also connected to the World card. It is the summation of something that is whole in total. But you get there from the Aeon. So the 29th degree in Pisces, to me, is very much like the Aeon card. Here comes Venus. And it's almost like a reckoning in some ways. So I feel like there's going to be a lot more, I wouldn't say information. We have plenty of information. But there's going to be a lot more people understanding the relationship between what happened in 2020 and, the carjack, and kind of where it's all going. Right? A lot of people are still in denial. It's a weird time. It's such a weird time, that period, because, for a while I thought, yeah, I think they probably got about 40% of the population. No, after I talked to my clients, it's like 85-90% of their family got vaccinated. And I'm thinking that's probably closer to the number. I think we're probably dealing about 80 to 85% of the population being vaccinated. And that is actually a scary number. If that's true, and I think it's close to true, because I keep talking to all my clients. Well, me and my husband, we didn't get vaccinated, but my in-laws did, my sister did, and her kids did, and unfortunately my kid, I can't tell you how many times I've heard this. And you just do the math. It's like, yeah. So this Venus-Neptune conjunction is going to be really interesting, especially coming in with this eclipse, and it's in Aries. And when you get the moon conjuncting the sun, which is theoretically the eclipse, right? When that starts to happen, Aries is all about will. And when you have an eclipse in Aries, it is the occultation of the will. And again, eclipses kind of feel like the judgment card in some ways, because the thing that it represents, whatever sign the sun is in, is occulted. So you're not getting the full effect of that thing, whatever that is, like sun in Aries in this instance. But at the same time, because it is occulted, you're actually able to see the effects of the thing, right? There's kind of this strange objectivity with eclipses. Things are revealed in eclipses, but sometimes they're revealed darkly or through some kind of, cognition of the shadow. You're able to see certain things. They're not always easy to see, like in terms of, oh yeah, that I participated in that, but they're easier to see in some ways because of the eclipse. It's almost like looking at a photo that's a negative. Like it looks strange, but you get to see like odd details that you weren't able to see before. I don't think eclipses are all bad, by the way. I think there's a lot of heavy duty like programming around eclipses. But if you're looking, it's almost like the other thing with the eclipse, it's almost like being in a dark room and developing photos. It's very similar, I think. So you're able to actually, something's able to come through in the darkness if you have the right solution, of course. So yeah, tomorrow this Venus-Neptune conjunction, and I'm just feeling like this is COVID related. This is vaccine damage related. And if you look at it, like, yeah, there's no heavy conflict going on here in terms of the square. We got the square with Saturn and Jupiter right there. Are we talking class action suit? Maybe we'll start to see some of that, especially with this Mars and Cancer, slowly crawling its way, crabbing its way to Leo. And it is in trine with both Saturn and Neptune. So it's going to be very interesting. Keep your eye on COVID. Keep your eye on the vax damaged. And that Venus, I think, stops at about 24 Pisces, if I'm not mistaken. So that's a conjunction with Saturn. That is definitely class action stuff. It's going to be very interesting. We're looking at our relationship with things that are Piscean, drugs, addiction, dependence, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Mercury's on its way back there too, but today we're just focusing on the Venus-Neptune conjunction. All right, we have the moon, and it's moving more into the balsamic phase. Tomorrow, when we get together for the weather, we'll talk about that balsamic moon in Pisces more. It's at 26 Aquarius. We still have objectivity, but this is a square with Uranus. Normally, I like nutty people. I have Chiron in Aquarius, so I have kind of a soft spot for nutty and eccentric people. But today is one of those days where nutty and eccentric people kind of get on your nerves. It's like I'm not ready for you today, okay? I'm just not ready for you. Generally, I like you. You're kooky, you're eccentric. It's interesting. I saw this. I wonder if I should play it. I don't know if I saved it, but there's this woman. Apparently, she's kind of well known. She was on. She was on a episode of Soft White Underbelly. It wasn't her episode. She was with this other woman. Apparently, she's kind of this healer woman, and she's completely out of her mind. And I just saw this video yesterday. Some of you may have seen this. And I think she's in the police department, maybe in Venice, California. And she's kind of losing her mind. But she's also, in a weird way, very spiritual. And she's kind of cute. But you can tell she does yoga and shit. But I think she's had like a Kundalini thing. And she's saying all this crazy shit. Obviously she goes into the police office fairly often because they don't do anything with her. But she's completely nutso. And she's telling them that they're God, that they're superheroes. And there's this one guy who's he's an older dude, it's like his job in life is to sit behind the desk, the reception desk in the Venice Police Department. Like he's just, he's on the clock. He's like, that's where he gets managed out eventually. He's into his pension, right? That's his gig. And he's kind of older. He's got these wire rim glasses. And she's nutso, this woman. But she says she loves this guy and she wants to give him a tickle torture. I swear to God. This is the moon in Aquarius. This is where I came across this video yesterday. Yeah, that's the moon in Aquarius right there. And it's cute, right? It's kind of cute if you're watching it on YouTube or you're watching it on Twitter or you're watching IG or whatever. It's a little less cute in real life when you have to deal with it. And today's one of those days with the moon in Aquarius, squaring Uranus in Aquarius. Eccentricities are okay, but sometimes they get on your nerves. Like, I got a cover for this person today. Oh, okay. Right. For all you moms out there, this moon Uranus square, it's a little jolting. It's a little jolting. And a lot of you are Aquarian moms. And what I mean by that is you're not Aquarius, but you're Aquarian in terms of how you raise your children. You're going to be untraditional, right? You may be, anti-V, right? You may be anti-V, or you may be, anti-whatever in the food, or anti-fluoride. And a great many of you are, and praise the Lord for you being that and doing that. Unfortunately, you're generally labeled the crazy mom. I just don't understand her. Why doesn't she just get her kids vaccinated? Does she think that she can parade around just with those kids and use them as trophies because she's special, she's important, she's different from everybody else? Those poor kids. I should call CPS on them. She's abusing those kids. I mean, I'm being a little exaggerating, but am I not true here? Am I not right? Yeah. So yesterday, client, beautiful woman, beautiful person. She watches the show. She's probably watching right now. Shout out, Base God. And, she's one of those moms. Cool mom. It's not always accepted by everybody, right? There are weird elements in society now that are emerging that are going to become more judgmental about this. They're just going to become more judgmental. Oh, you're one of those moms. Oh, you're one of those dads. Sorry. Our kids can't play with you. Right? It's like, geez, really? Do you have to go there? Shocking, right? It's shocking. It's like, well, what did we do? Well, I saw that Twitter post of yours. I saw what you put up on Facebook. I can't abide by that. We don't treat our children that way. Yeah, you're not an Aquarian mom. Aquarian moms have been around for a long time. Aquarian moms are the ones that started reading the labels 30 years ago because they knew what was up. They knew that fluoride wasn't good in the water. There's more of them now than ever. This brings up something else. It's something I think is going to get much more prevalent with Saturn and Neptune in Aries. And this is going to be religious judgmentalism. Now, many of you know that I have a fairly benevolent stance with Christianity. Fairly benevolent in the spirit of the religion and the spirit of the belief. Yeah, I'm there. Now, the organized principle of it, I am not there. It's not there. But the spirit, I'm good with. So if that's your practice, God bless you. Especially if you are a loving individual, if you are an unconditional individual with some limits, because you need limits every now and then. Good, fine. However, I feel like religious judgmentalism is going to really start to rise here. And it's very much connected with the Trump administration and the kind of fundamentalism that it's not Trump, but it's what's around Trump. And I feel like this thing is rising. And it's rising in opposition to all the crazy left stuff. And it's all part of this weird, I wouldn't call it a plan, because that would mean that some mastermind out there is like, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do this. And I would say that they've probably done some of that, but not the totality of it. And so now you have a bunch of people who said, I hate this, send those migrants back. And all of a sudden it goes from migrants to the new age mom or the Aquarian mom who's not down with the V. Like now all of a sudden they're the evil ones. It's coming. I can tell you it's coming. The great witch hunts are going to come. And because they don't understand, this is the weird part. They don't really understand us. They don't. They really don't. It's a very black and white world. And, a lot of you Aquarian moms are kind of lumped into the witch category. And it's like, oh, she's a witch. She's a witch. She follows that star stuff. This is also part of that Moon-Uranus square. So it's a bit shocking. A little shocking. Look at Mars and Chiron. They are just in this tango with each other, right? They just, they keep sort of advancing 1 degree at a time. Mars is going to pick up speed and ultimately will outpace Chiron, but they're locked in this square. And, the downside of that square is taking things personally and sort of going on the offensive once you take things personally. But the moon in Aquarius helps with depersonalization, especially with that sextile with Chiron. You're best not to take things personally in general. It's not the greatest tack. But I really do like that trine with Saturn, trine with Neptune. We talked about that yesterday. It's creative, it's practical. You get things done, especially around your house, around your yard. It's springtime. Take advantage of the energy. All right, let's get into our True Hemp Science star of the day. We'll bring up the banner here, the old banner. All right. So our True Hemp Science star of the day is Erica Jong. Now, some of you may be asking yourself, who the fuck is Erica Jong? And I wouldn't blame you for asking that question. I will answer that question as soon as I tell you about True Hemp Science, which is your one-stop shop for all things CBD. All you got to do is go to the website, look at all their offerings, great stuff, organically sourced. You spend $100 or more, you will get the goodie bag, which is like the Whitman sampler inside of the order. And you're going to get some gummies. The gummies they're worth the price of admission. And any order over $150 more gets you free shipping, and there's always a 30-day money-back guarantee. Plus, you can make an appointment, get somebody on the phone. There's a human. They will talk with you. They will answer your questions about any of the products and help you find a product that is the best for you. There you go. TrueHempScience.com, your one-stop shop for all things CBD. And remember, anything you buy from True Hemp Science, part of that purchase is going to the lobby that is up against SB3. And I hope to have some updates on SB3. We're still in session here in Texas. Usually with something like that, they push it out to the end, which is not necessarily a good sign, but I'll keep you posted on it. All right, let's talk about Erica Jong. Kind of cute there, right? She's a little cutie. She's also a little kinky. Erica Jong comes out of New York City. She comes from a literary family, and she studied English. I think she went to Barnard College, and she was a poet first, and then she became a novelist. Now, she's written one novel that was, I would call it successful, sold a lot of copies. Everything else, she got published. And of course, that novel is The Fear of Flying. And she's kind of like the female version of Philip Roth in some ways, because she is openly exploring sexuality. Right? It's It's about a woman. I think her name is Wing. I think that's her name, Wing. It's like connected to flying, Wing. And there's a kind of a theme in the fear of flying, which I'll get into in a second. That is kind of a famous thing that's connected to that book. And well, maybe I should get into it now. If you look at her ascendant, she's got her rising sign is Gemini. She's always going to look young. If you look at pictures of Erica Jong now, she still looks pretty good. She's, in her 70s. And people who are Gemini rising have this youthful kind of countenance about them. Gemini rising, Virgo rising, two signs, they tend to look young for a long time, both ruled by Mercury. So here we have Jupiter conjunct the ascendant. And what is Gemini known for? It's known for language. Language. And she loves language. She's very into language. She is a cunning linguist. And with Jupiter and Gemini on the ascendant, she's also insanely curious. Well, you throw Mars in there. Mars and Gemini, I've said this before, and I will say it again. Mars and Gemini is a little kinky. There's a little kinky with Mars and Gemini, right? It's kind of like sometimes they like to watch. There's that interesting sort of observational component to it, right? So Mars and Gemini it can be a little bit kinky. It's not, Mars is about sexual expression. It is. Mars is sex, right? And in Gemini, there's lots of variations of what that could look like in the spirit of Gemini, right? So you put them together, and it's much bigger. Like it becomes a big part of her life. And the theme for the fear of flying, and I'm going to use some blue language here, is the big theme of the fear of flying is called the zipless fuck. And the zipless fuck is this fantasy that I think her name is Wing has in the fear of flying, where she is with a person and they're fully clothed and their garments fall away. Like there's no sort of downtime between when two people get aroused and they consecrate the arousal, right? Like there's no downtime. The garments just fall away. And so there's this fantasy called the zipless fuck. And I really feel like that's Jupiter and Mars on the ascendant. It's like, because remember, Mars is sex, and Jupiter is like all these different possibilities that are attached to it, right? And then we have this Jupiter trine with Venus being the planet of relationship. We're going to get into relationships in a minute because her marriages are very strange. They're very strange. We'll get into that in a minute. And Venus in Aquarius, we'll get into her Venus in a second because there's a lot more to it than that, right? But of course, there's something about like yesterday we looked at Danica Patrick. It was also Gloria Steinem's birthday yesterday. It was Anita Bryant's birthday. And you may not think Anita Bryant is a feminist, but in a weird way, she is like as strong as Gloria Steinem was, but kind of an anti-feminist. In Aries, you get these very strong-willed women. They're very strong-willed. Danica Patrick, I mean, my God. Not a very good race car driver, but she kept doing it. Right? And here we have Erica Jong, who is, again, kind of this, very strong-willed woman. Her sun is at 5 degrees Aries. What's it doing? Trining Pluto. What's the third house? It's writing, communication. And what does she write about? Very Plutonian things. Sex, 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 sex. And you got Chiron here as well. So she's into the taboo. There's a domestic side. There's a nice little domestic side of Erica Jong. And she was a mother. And her daughter looks exactly like her, like a spitting image. And she's into the same kind of material that Erica Jong is in. So we got this Mercury South Node in Pisces. whenever there's something around the South Node, you're bringing something back from another, previous lifetime, right? So she's bringing back the gift of writing. She's got Mercury in the 10th house. There you go. There's somebody who writes and communicates for a living. She does fiction. Mercury in Pisces. And what is Mercury doing? It's trining the moon. What does she write about? Mostly women. Very interesting, right? She's got the Mercury South Node conjunction. And that Sun in Aries just kind of stands out in the 11th house, even though it is intercepted. I'm not sure she's a great writer, but she was certainly celebrated at that time. The Fear of Flying thing got made into a movie. I remember seeing her on Johnny Carson a couple times. And she's still around. She teaches. She's in academia. Now let's talk about her Venus. She's married 4 times. Her first husband, like the people she's married have all been very, how shall we say, different. She's married 2 writers, one of whom is this guy by the name of Howard Fast. I think he might have been the 3rd husband, if I'm not mistaken. And Howard Fast is a science fiction writer. And he has a son who's also a writer who does, I guess, science fiction as well. That's her 3rd husband. She winds up having a daughter with him. And that's the daughter that looks like her, does the same shit, right? Her first husband is also a writer, but he's a schizophrenic. And the marriage gets annulled. Venus square Uranus. She's looking for something long term, but the Venus-Uranus square makes it very, very difficult. Even though Uranus is the ruler of Aquarius, right? It's in conflict here. Okay, so that's her first husband. Her second husband is where she gets her name, last name, Jong. And he's Chinese, or part Chinese. I think it's part Chinese. The Jong part is Chinese. So she marries this guy who, again, this is very Venus in Aquarius. Like really Venus in Aquarius. Somebody from another culture, or somebody from, kind of another gene pool, right? Venus in Aquarius, especially in the 9th house. And she has and there's the inconjunct right there. She becomes the mother, right? She becomes the mother of the guy who is half Chinese. He's Chinese. I don't say Asian. He's actually Chinese, right? Well, they have a daughter, and then that doesn't work. And then she marries Howard Fast. She's with him for a while. And so I think Howard Fast is the father that the daughter relates to. In fact, I think she goes by Jong Fast with her last name, even though he is not her biological father. And then they divorce. And then she marries this other guy who's older than she is. So she marries these 2 science fiction writers. Now they have Aquarius as being very science fiction. She marries these 2 science fiction writers, one of them who goes nuts and suffers from schizophrenia. She marries this, I think he's like a professor researcher guy, and he's half Asian, very Venus in Aquarius. And the final guy she marries is older than she is, and he's already passed away. So to me, this is all very Venus in Aquarius. These are very interesting marriage. Now, of course, what she's into now is LGBTQAI+, same-sex marriage. So she eventually migrates all those very Aquarian relationships into a social stance. And she, with Mars and Jupiter, even the Mars-Jupiter triangle that Venus and Aquarius is very much a part of her writing, because she writes basically about women, which is very Venusian. So she's also related to this guy by the name of Peter Dao. This is an interesting little quirk here, a little sort of sub-narrative. Peter Dao was an advisor to Obama. He became this kind of like Democratic sort of, kind of political consulting guy. However, he's also a musician, and he was married to this woman named Vanessa Daou, and they made a couple of records together. One of them is really good, and I'm not sure if he's really a part of that record or not. He might be. They originally had a band called the Daou. That was their name of the band, the Daou. And then it just became Vanessa Daou. And they did a record called Zipless, an entire record called Zipless. And it's connected to Erica Jong and this whole idea of the zipless fuck. So this is kind of the other iteration, in terms of like the cultural iteration. Like there's a whole album dedicated to that record. And it was because this guy, Peter Daou, was related to her. And it always felt a little bit weird with Peter Daou and Vanessa. Like I really like Vanessa Daou's voice. She's very sultry. In fact, I'll probably play a song of hers over on 15. I'm not sure I'm going to play something from Zipless because I don't think people will appreciate it. It's a little Mars, Jupiter, Gemini, trying Venus and Aquarius, right? It's a little. I may play something from a different Vanessa Daou record. My favorite Vanessa Daou record is Plutonium Glow. I think it's great. And she also has another record that's dedicated to Anais Nin. So this whole idea of sensuality, and Vanessa Daou is really sensual. Like her voice is sensual. Think of like a little bit like Sade, but with I think a better voice. I know Sade's got that smoky voice. Vanessa Daou doesn't have that, but it's similar in some ways with, I think, better grooves. Anyway, that's your True Hemp Science star of the day. The kinky Erica Jong, who's still around and still doing her very best to sexually liberate America as we speak. All right. Thank you all for being here. We'll be over on 15 Minutes of Flame. And I'm going to be talking about Curtis Yarvin. If you don't know who Curtis Yarvin is, you need to tune in. He is the philosophical advisor. He is the philosophical advisor to the Trump administration. And you're going to want to know what his philosophy is because we're seeing it in action right now. So the links for the Boxcast and Rumble are there in the show notes. You click on either one of those. And I hope to see you there. All right. Take good care of yourselves. Take good care of each other. God bless. Love you all. Robert Phoenix, signing off.